Hello, everyone. This is the Hater once again. Time to review and rant about the second episode of AEW Dynamite. The most exciting show on Wednesday nights. I'm gonna be honest. This show once again. This show exceeded my very, very low expectations of the AEW product, as you nerds would probably call it. This show it had its ups and downs. I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to talk about them, focus on the downs more because that's where I think the interesting stuff lies. They did very few things well and a lot of things wrong, but overall, I'd say the show was pretty decent. I'm not going to sit here and say it was shit. You know what I mean? All right, so let's start. First thing we saw was the Private Party, which has to be in the running for the worst name for a tag team ever, versus the Young Bucks, which has to be in the running for worst tag team name ever. The match itself was what you'd expect from a Young Bucks match. I mean, they're athletic. These two other guys, Private Party, Mark Quinn and something Cassidy, Isaiah Cassidy, maybe. I don't know. I don't know which one's which yet because this is the first time I've seen them wrestle. So I'm going to call them Guy and Orange Hair Guy. There was a very few moments that kind of stuck out. A lot of super kick attempts and super kicks. One of the guys, I forget which one because it doesn't matter, did a very beautiful shooting star press. That was pretty neat. Clearly, they want to push this Private Party tag team a little bit. I don't think they're going to win the tag belts. I think now it's going to be Dark Order because they're just the only ones with really a gimmick, if you even want to call it a gimmick. Of course, we would have thought that Young Bucks were going to win, but they're already eliminated, which I think is the right move because they'll get it eventually. And, it's better to show off these new tag teams than it is to continue with the Young Cucks. The fans lost their mind because the fans lose their mind over everything. And, the match ended with Private Party picking up the win via a roll-up or a crucifix or something along those lines. There's a lot of that going on, by the way, in AEW. A lot of roll-up finishes. I guess they don't want to make anyone look super weak or anything like that, which doesn't matter because everyone does look super weak because everyone is about 125 pounds average. Then we get to the next segment, which was, I think, the best segment of the night, a promo by Jericho and his new stable, the Inner Circle, which, as a name, it could have done worse, so I dig it. The Smarks are just in full gear tonight. Haha, no pun intended. And they're trying to do what Smarks do, which is kind of gatekeep and pretend that they're better fans than everybody else. So there was a part when Jericho was putting over everyone, which he did a pretty good job of doing, considering that three of the people there are complete useless jobbers. So he started by talking about Sammy Guevara. And he said, wow, Sammy Guevara is a sexy beast or something like that. And later in the main event, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, there was a part where Sammy Guevara, before the match started, did a pose where he stood up in the middle turnbuckle and he pointed to his abs, which, we've seen that a million times. But the bigger problem is that he's a little bit chubby. I'm not going to say he's a fat dude. He obviously isn't. But he's not in shape enough to be pointing at his abs. It comes off foolish. He also looks a little bit like a retard. So his whole he's a pretty guy gimmick doesn't work for him. He's not. He's a douchebag. But after that, Jericho put over Santana and Ortiz. Ortiz, I think he's like the weirder looking one. Ortiz, during this entire promo, this idiot had his tongue out trying to look crazy. Except he came off looking like a retard, not like he was crazy. He does not come off as intimidating at all. The other guy, he's got some muscle, so, that guy can be pushed at some sort of intimidating force, but not really, Private Party, for example, is, in my opinion now, better than them. They look the part. They don't have a gimmick, I wouldn't say, but they look like two dudes that like to party, just based on the guy's orange hair. So I kind of dig them, I like them. But, I like them in the context of modern wrestling and AEWs, which means I don't like them that much. Then, while Jericho's putting over those two nerds in LAX or whatever they're going to call them here, he finishes by saying, Viva la raza, right? Which is cool. You know, they're Hispanic. People like that. Of course, I don't have to tell you what happened next. The Beards started chanting, Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. Now, the only thing this accomplishes is them letting each other know. This is not for anybody else. It's for each other. The crowd lets each other know that they understand that that was Eddie Guerrero's catchphrase in 2005. I don't know, right? It's very cringy. It's kind of stupid. And Eddie Guerrero isn't here. He's dead. Rest in peace. But yeah, they decided to just kind of start chanting Eddie's name just to show they're smarks. Then, as Jericho starts talking about Jake Hager, as he called him, which I believe his name is Jake Hager, but I could be wrong. It doesn't really matter what his name is. It doesn't matter what his name is. So Jericho started talking about Jake Hager, and the neckbeards started chanting, "We the people." You know, and they were pretty much all the people there were chanting that. And, you know, it's nice that they, like, recognize Jake Hager, even though, you know, he was around like only a few years ago in WWE, so it's not really too smarky and too gatekeepy to kind of do that. But Jericho worked the crowd perfectly. This is why Jericho is one of the greatest, because he declared to large cheers that the We the People thing was a stupid idea by bad creative, and the people lost their minds, right? Now, Jericho is a heel, so the subtext of what he was saying is basically, you guys are a bunch of nerds, and you will cheer anything just to like kind of make a point. But even if that something is something stupid, according to Jericho, right? The fans, of course, did not understand this because the collective IQ of that building is probably about 15 IQ points. So they kind of cheered at Jericho for more or less making fun of them. While, I mean, of course, Jericho was also making fun of WWE there. It was a decent thing. It was a great promo by Jericho. It was a decent moment of the promo. The only problem with that part of the promo is that, objectively speaking, We the People was great. It was a real gimmick. Zeb Coulter was awesome. Jack Swagger came back and he was pushed because he had he had a new haircut, a new gimmick. Everything was going fine until he got his DUI or whatever, you know. So yeah, that happened. That was pretty cool. Ortiz. The low light here was Ortiz and his tongue. He's about 5'3", and just the general presence and existence of Sammy Guevara is he does not fit here. This stable, if you took away Sammy Guevara, this stable would come off as a bunch of badasses who would beat your ass, right? I mean, Ortiz is 5'3", like I said, but still, he's going for that crazy guy. He can't help that he's small. Sammy Guevara, on the other hand, doesn't fit here. He would fit more with like Breezango or something like that, you know? Except, you know, obviously Tyler Breeze and Fandango are better than him. Anyways, that was that. Next, we have a number one contenders match. Now, this is preposterously stupid because the winner of this will not be the number one contender. I mean, I guess they will be in the short term, but clearly there is also another number one contender. So I don't know how these people can supersede Cody Rhodes, who is the number one contender. Yet, that's what they did. And the problem with this, to their credit, this was addressed later on. Problem with this is that the match involved Darby Allin, who is, I thought he was okay, but after tonight, he sucks. Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc, right? Jimmy Havoc sucks as well. He came out, they introduced him as weighing 14 stone because he's from England, but that's stupid because it doesn't matter if he's from England. This guy is supposed to be this dark character. Like, the fact that he's English is not part of his character at all, and he shouldn't come out announced as 14 stone. It doesn't matter that he's English. That was stupid. The match itself was what you'd expect. A bunch of jobbers pretending to wrestle. Jimmy Havoc has absolutely nothing going for him. This guy sucks completely. Darby Allin hits this. It was pretty cool. It was almost like a somersault stunner. Basically, he kind of like does a front flip while he's in like a power slam position and does a stunner or a cutter. I don't remember which one. He hits the coffin drop, which is basically a diving senton, but backwards. Jimmy Havoc had to like move into position because the coffin drop is such a stupid move. You have to do it backwards, so he couldn't see where he was landing. So Jimmy Havoc had to move around and pretty much take it like an idiot. But Darby Allin wins. That was to be expected. Clearly what they're going for is Darby Allin is going to have a great performance against Jericho and eventually will lose clean next week. That is decent, but the problem is it makes next week predictable because obviously we know based on common sense, wrestling knowledge, and tonight that Jericho will be facing Cody Rhodes at the pay-per-view in Baltimore. So that was kind of a waste, in my opinion, as well. Next up, we have a tag match. It was the women's champion Riho and Dr. Britt Baker, who absolutely sucks, versus Japanese legend, they tell me, Emi Sakura, right? And Bea Priestley, who has a nice ass, but is still, I'm taking her up from a 3 to a 4.2 in the hotness scale. Her gimmick is stupid, though, so I still hate her. The match itself wasn't that bad. Emi Sakura is supposed to be a legend. JR completely cucked, Alex Sanchez, whatever the fuck his name is, or Excalibur, one of those idiots. I don't even know how many people they have on it now. It's probably Excalibur, I guess, who was saying she's a legend. And Jim Ross almost gave him a lesson. He was like, oh, she's a legend? Well, why don't you tell the people at home why she's a legend? For those of us that don't know. In other words, JR is teaching this idiot how to do commentary. You can't just say things. She's a legend. What did she do? Sell her to me. Sell Emi Nakamura to me, or whatever, Sakura to me. Because when I see her, I see a fat old Japanese lady with a microphone gimmick, and I have absolutely zero interest in seeing it. Luckily, she lost. The finish was kind of interesting. Riho did this like O'Connor roll almost into a double stomp, and Britt Baker hit the drift away, which is Elias' finishing move, to win the match. Now, here's where I have a problem with the setup of this match. Afterwards, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, which of course stands for douchebag, MD, had a little post-match confrontation with Bea Priestley for absolutely no reason. Nobody explained why they hate each other. They just decided to fight after the match. Another thing, the issue that I have is that she is called Dr. Britt Baker. This serves absolutely zero purpose to her non-existent character. She is a dentist in real life, apparently, and I guess we're supposed to be impressed by this. I mean, I guess it is impressive, right? But this is not like her character. She's not Isaac Yankem. She's just a broad who wrestles and happens to be a dentist, right? Her entire theme is like, in her entrance Titantron, it's like a skull and like a little, like a Novocaine syringe and like a drill and one of those little mirrors for the teeth. Like that's just part of her Titantron, and her name is Dr. Britt Baker, but she does nothing dentisty. She's not a dentist in the ring. That's just stupid. Like, even like her move, I don't think is like, it should be called like, I don't know, open wide or something like that. I think that's part of her Titantron as well. Anyways, the match felt completely worthless, completely meaningless. I don't really like women's wrestling because they do a lot of botches. So to their credit, this match did not have that many botches, which I dig. What else we got next? Then we have Dean Ambrose versus Ty Dillinger. Now, in WWE, Dean Ambrose was a pseudo main eventer. Probably I'd consider him an upper mid-carder, honestly. An upper mid-carder, and Ty Dillinger was an NXT undercard guy. So in kayfabe, Dean Ambrose should destroy this jobber, but because they're in AEW, Ty Dillinger is promoted immediately to a serious wrestler. He sucks. This is not working out. Him with Tully is not working out because he just keeps losing. He attacked Cody, and we have forgotten about that already. Cody has moved on to bigger and better things, and that's how that went down. Dean Ambrose. John Moxley, what a douche. He defeated Ty with a paradigm shift, which for those of you that don't know and are just stupid, filthy casuals, that is the dirty deeds, but he lifts him off the ground, kind of like Stevie Richards used to do. Dean Ambrose now uses Stevie Richards' finishing move, which I believe was called the Stevie T. During the match, we had Pac, who everyone knows as Neville and only Neville, doing commentary, and he made a very good point. His point was, how is it that Pac, who is undefeated, gets passed over in favor of jobbers such as Darby Allin and Jimmy Havoc? Pac was right here. There was no excuse. There was no explanation. In my opinion, this was one of the weakest parts of the night because they keep emphasizing that wins and losses matter. However, we've come to learn that they don't matter because Pac has 2 wins, I believe, and 0 losses. Not only that, he won both of those matches with pass-out submissions. And he beat Kenny Omega, which is supposed to be their golden boy. And I believe he beat Adam Page there, who was the #1 contender. So it should be a no-brainer that Pac based on win-loss record, should get the next shot. If anything, he should kind of get the next shot before Cody, because Cody couldn't even beat Darby Allin. So what the hell? Like, he had 20 minutes, he couldn't beat him. So why would he be able to beat Jericho? So that was kind of whack, but I guess they need a face to fight the heel because wrestling. After the match, Kenny Omega comes out with a barbed wire bat and a barbed wire broom because he's the cleaner. This was extremely stupid. It made absolutely no sense because he ended up giving Dean Ambrose, I'm going to call him Dean Ambrose, I don't give a fuck what he calls himself. He gives Dean Ambrose the barbed wire bat and challenges him to, like, I don't know, I guess a bat and mop sword fight. Maybe they should pull out their cocks and have a real sword fight. You understand what I'm saying? Because that was gay. From behind, Pac hits Kenny Omega for no reason, again, whatsoever, with a chair in the back. He already whooped his ass, made him pass out, so there's no logic to him having any animosity towards Kenny Omega. If anything, he should be attacking Cody, who is the number one contender. Nonetheless, this leaves Dean Ambrose an opportunity to destroy Kenny Omega if he wanted to. But he chooses not to, which makes no sense whatsoever kayfabe-wise, because last week he came to attack him and put him through a table head first, a glass table, might I add. So this made no sense kayfabe-wise, and therefore this segment sucked ass. Next, what was it? We had the main event. The main event was Jericho and Sammy Guevara of the Inner Circle there, Taz, versus Hangman Page and Goldust. The natural Dustin Rhodes. He naturally sucked. But, I give Dustin Rhodes props because he's about 98 years old, and he still does pretty good moves. So that's kind of neat. Now, this match was decent. It wasn't anything special. It played out exactly like anyone would thought it would play out. The faces were doing all right until Jake Hager interferes a couple of times. And Jericho hits the, what the hell is it called? The Judas effect on Goldust and pins him in the ring after Jake Hager clotheslines Goldust while Goldust was having this hot streak of moves. Now, the match, all right. You're not going to expect an incredible match every time. So this match, I think, was just fine. And it seemed to set up a possible Hangman Page, Jake Hager feud, because after the match, Hangman threw a chair at Jake Hager, and they kind of removed themselves from the ensuing brawl. Now, this is important. This brawl was by far the worst brawl to ever end a wrestling show, and here's why. The heels now had a one-person advantage because Jake Hager and Adam Page were removed. So it was Sammy Guevara and Jericho versus Goldust. So naturally, they start laying a thorough ass whooping on Goldust, right? And this is when we now start doing this, like, it almost felt like war games, where like one person comes out and then a person from another team comes out and then they just start attacking each other like assholes this entire time. So let me see if I can get this order right. So, also at one point, JR says, have we seen a better match this year than Cody and Goldust? Yes, we've seen many better matches this year than Cody and Goldust. Primarily, we've seen every NXT match. Walter versus Tyler Bate was better. Corbin versus Cedric Alexander was better. Friggin', there are so many better matches. That's just a foolish thing to say. Nonetheless, and it was presented as if it was this dream match, and it wasn't. It's a jobber match. Next, after Jericho and Sammy Guevara are thoroughly whooping that ass of Goldust, the lights go out. This was the first moment of absolute cringe because the lights go out for a few seconds and you're expecting, I don't know, maybe a debuting superstar or perhaps at least someone unrelated to this angle to appear. No, it's fucking Cody Rhodes. Why did he have to appear with the lights off? What is he, Kane? No, he's Cody Rhodes. He's Stardust. He sucks. He appears, and as the lights are off, Jericho and Sammy Guevara apparently have never watched wrestling before in their lives because the lights go off, and when they come back on, Sammy Guevara and Jericho have their arms raised, and they're facing the crowd. Now, everybody who's ever watched wrestling knows that when the lights go off, someone is coming to attack you. So why would Jericho and Sammy Guevara not be vigilant and instead be celebrating, essentially ignoring the fact that the lights went off? This allowed Cody Rhodes to, from behind, grab that jobber Sammy Guevara and hit the crossroads. Then he takes off his tie and like his cufflinks because he's wearing a suit because he's a jerk off, and he goes to fight Jericho. And Jericho's like, oh, he's giving him these looks of like, no, I'm gonna beat your ass, right? So then after that, who comes out after that? I'm gonna say it was Ortiz and Santana. They come and they attack Cody, right? After that, Cody and Goldust are then saved by MJF, who teases a heel turn again. This is just stupid, because what's the point, right? What is the point? If he ever turns heel, it's fucking stupid. At this point, he's teased it so many times that him turning heel makes absolutely no sense, and anything Cody should turn on him. So he comes out, teases the heel turn, beats them up with a chair. What happens after that? Does Jake Hager come back? I don't know, but somehow these idiots get the upper hand. Or maybe that's when Santana and Ortiz come out. I don't know. Doesn't really matter, does it? So basically, eventually Young Bucks come out, and they do like a double suicide dive on Santana and Ortiz. So that's the next feud for those two jackasses. And in the end, as they're retreating, Jericho, Guevara, and LAX are retreating. Jericho's upset, and he attacks a ref for no reason. I think he did that just to kill time, because that idiot Darby Allin must have missed his cue. But Darby Allin, who once again weighs about 125, comes rolling down on a skateboard and attacks Jericho in the most unbelievable fashion ever. And speaking of fashion, he's wearing this idiotic outfit with a black scarf, almost as if he didn't plan on attacking him. So he attacks Jericho and with a skateboard and beats him up with a skateboard a little bit, right? So just to recap, right? About 15 people came out in this post-match brawl. And I understand it's week 2, so they got to set up some storylines. Like they I think successfully set up Hager versus Adam Page, and I mean it was clear that it was going to be Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz, so they did that, and of course they kind of furthered Jericho versus Cody, and they didn't need to, but they just despite that they furthered Jericho versus Darby Allin for next week. Now the problem with all of this is the number of people that came out. But the good thing is that Jericho was able to, shed some light on the stable, their motivations, which are, to take over AEW, which shouldn't be that hard because everyone's a jobber. And they fleshed out Jericho's next 2 opponents. This is pretty good booking, especially when you take into consideration something like The Fiend, which is the worst idea maybe ever, versus Seth Rollins, who is one of the worst champions in the history of wrestling, but don't get me started on that right now. So then Jericho closes the show by threatening Cody Rhodes of whipping his ass in Baltimore on November 6th or 9th or whatever, and he tells Darby Allin that next week is his funeral, which I dug because it's classic Jericho. He also dropped one S word and one B word today. For those of you that might be confused, that's shit and bitch, because, TV-14. So that was kind of, and it didn't feel forced because it was Jericho. If it was somebody else, like if Cody Rhodes had done that, it would be enough to change the channel, honestly. But yeah, fuckers, the hater here, trying to tell all y'all's what was good and what was bad about A-Dub there. So, yeah, see you next week, bitches.